Chapter 35. If you've come to arrest me again, said Bernard, twirling his trigger finger in his brilliant curls, then you should be aware of my true identity. It's a wise cop who knows her own prisoner. On the other hand, if you've come because you like me, it might make you like me more to see what we have in common. Yeah, said Lee Cherie, we're both mutants. I beg your pardon? Nothing. You're one of the redheads, all right. Is this really your natural shade? You mean, can I trace my roots back to henna? This is the color I busted out of the womb with. The last of the black dye was just washed down the drain and out to sea. Jacques Cousteau is probably swimming through it, thinking that some squid is writing with a leaky pen again. Okay, I guess you're as red as I am, but that's all we have in common. What makes you so sure? There are two kinds of people in this world. Those who are part of the solution, and those who are part of the problem. I see. I make messes, you clean them up? Well, let me tell you, there are two kinds of people in this world. Those who look at life and see the frost on the pumpkin, and those who look and see the drool on the pie. Actually, there are two kinds of people in this world. Those who believe that there are two kinds of people in this world, and those who are smart enough to know better. However, Lee Cherie and Bernard were occupied with the nuances of an intricate dance, so let's be generous and cut them some slack. They were on the deck in the noonday sun, but Lee Cherie had raised the parasol, and Bernard crouched in the pencil nub shadow of the mainsail gaff. The Pacific, tranquilized here by a broken square jetty, rocked them as sweetly as winos rock wine. You look familiar now, with your red hair. I think I've seen pictures of you. I do have a good agent. My publicity photos get around. Where? On post office walls? You're some kind of infamous hoodlum, aren't you? I wouldn't put it that way. When I was younger, I did have a slight brush with the law. You know how boys are. No. Tell me about it. Nothing much to tell. A misunderstanding involving a city councilman's daughter and a borrowed car. But the aftermath, it did leave a mark. After 30 days in the sissies and snitches tank, which is another story, I was made a trustee. The trustee quarters were on the second floor, the same as the jail kitchen. All of the trustees had access to the kitchen. Well, I'd been a trustee less than a week when 3 kitchen knives and a 17th inch in diameter meat slicing blade turned up missing. Naturally, every trustee was suspected of stealing the knives. They completely tore apart our sleeping quarters, and the TV room too. They didn't find the knives. So they lined us up in the hallway, watched over by a squad of guards armed with riot guns and mace. One by one, we were marched into a small room where in front of several more guards and a captain with a flashlight, we were made to strip. They made me turn around, grab the cheeks of my ass, and bend over, so they could look up my rectum to make sure I wasn't hiding 3 kitchen knives and a 17 inch in diameter meat slicing blade. Of course, they didn't find the missing cutlery in any of us, but they did find 4 bars of soap, a Playboy centerfold, 3 ice cubes, 5 feathers, Atlantis, the Greek delegate to Boys Nation, a cake with a file in it, a white Christmas, a blue Christmas, a Pablo Picasso and his brother Elmer, 1 bologna sandwich with mustard, 2 Japanese infantrymen who didn't realize that World War II was over, Prince Buster of Cleveland, a glass-bottom boat, Howard Hughes' will, a set of false teeth, Amelia Earhart, the first 4 measures of The Impossible Dream sung by the Black Mountain College Choir, Howard Hughes' will, another version, The Widow of the Unknown Soldier, 6 passenger pigeons, middle-class morality, the great American novel, and a banana. Jesus, swore Lee Cherie. She didn't know whether to laugh or jump overboard. Look, who are you, anyway, and what's your game? Woodpecker is the name, and outlawing's the game. I'm wanted in 50 states and Mexico. It's nice to feel wanted. And I'd like to be wanted by you. In fact, I just blew my disguise in the hopes that it would open your eyes and soften your heart. There, my cards are on the table, an expression your old daddy would surely understand. Jesus, the Woodpecker, Bernard Wrangle, I should have guessed. His cocky smile was finally gone. If smiles had addresses, Bernard's would have been General Delivery the Moon. He looked at her with the kind of painted-on seriousness that comedians shift into when they get their chance to play Hamlet. Still, there was genuine tenderness and longing. This is too much for me to deal with right now, said Lee Cherie. Despite the heat waves that hoochie-coochied all around her, she trembled. Why had she come to the boat in the first place? She could have just sent the police. I'm due back at the Carefest. Indeed, the panel discussion on birth control was scheduled to begin in 7 minutes. He attempted to help her onto the dock, but she spurned his hand. Hustling away, the tattered parasol flapping like a werewolf shirt tail, she called back, "They're going to get you again, you know." Bernard's smile came part way home. "They never got me, and they never will. The outlaw is someone who cannot be gotten. He can only be punished by other people's attitudes. Just as your attitudes are punishing me now." Chapter 36. When the organizers of the Geotherapy Care Fest announced their intentions, they were blizzarded by applications from manufacturers and salespeople of ecologically sound stuff who wished concessions to peddle their new age wares, teas, herbs, sleeping bags, hot tubs, teepees, windmills, water distillers, air purifiers, wooden stoves, frozen yogurt, arts, crafts, books, kits, biomagnetic underwear, carob chip cookies on the premises. The organizers refused. They had no complaint against ecology fairs or the cosmic profits to be reaped from them. It was just that their Carefest was conceived to traffic, as they put it, in ideas, not objects. Now, the line that separates objects from ideas can be pretty twiggy, but let's not unzip that pair of pants. Galileo was right to drop objects rather than ideas off his tower, and the Carefest might have been wise to stick with objects as well. Within the normal range of perception, the behavior of objects can be measured and predicted. Ignoring the possibility that in the wrong hands almost any object, including this book you can hold, can turn up as Exhibit A in a murder trial. Ignoring, for the moment, the far more interesting possibility that every object might lead a secret life. It is still safe to say that objects, as we understand them, are relatively stable, whereas ideas are definitely unstable. They not only can be misused, they invite misuse, and the better the idea, the more volatile it is. That's because only the better ideas turn into dogma, and it is this process whereby a fresh, stimulating, humanly helpful idea is changed into robot dogma that is deadly. In terms of hazardous vectors released, the transformation of ideas into dogma rivals the transformation of hydrogen into helium, uranium into lead, or innocence into corruption, and it is nearly as relentless. The problem starts at the secondary level, not with the originator or developer of the idea, but with the people who are attracted by it, who adopt it, who cling to it until their last nail breaks, and who invariably lack the overview, flexibility, imagination, and most importantly, sense of humor to maintain it in the spirit in which it was hatched. Ideas are made by masters, dogma by disciples, and the Buddha is always killed on the road. There is a particularly unattractive and discouragingly common affliction called tunnel vision, which for all the misery it causes ought to top the job list at the World Health Organization. Tunnel vision is a disease in which perception is restricted by ignorance and distorted by vested interest. Tunnel vision is caused by an optic fungus that multiplies when the brain is less energetic than the ego. It is complicated by exposure to politics. When a good idea is run through the filters and compressors of ordinary tunnel vision, it not only comes